1:25 a.m. April 12, 2019 Johor. Petronas Pengerang Integrated Complex was shot with an explosion. The blast could be heard from as far as 50 kilometers away, triggering car alarms in the surrounding area. The casualty of the tragedy is quite light. Two personnel were affected and only sustained light injuries. Both are male security guards at the time of incidents and also aged 28 and 30 at the time. They were then given outpatient treatments after the incidents at the complex emergency center. One security guard was discharged early as the person only received minor scratches from the explosion. The explosion is said to have been caused by a leak in gas tank, which then resulted in the destructive combustion. The facility was in testing phase ahead of planned commercial operations, which was scheduled to be later that year. Of course, the catastrophe brought about several environmental effects. It is considered minimal as the surrounding nature is relatively unscathed from the explosion. No serious air pollution was reported, and the 24-hour pollution standard index has been in the low moderate range since 1 a.m. that day. However, structural damages in the vicinity of the complex was reported. Around 10 houses were affected by the incident, with damages ranging from shattered sliding doors to cracked walls. Petronas stated that their emergency response team has dealt with and contained the disaster in around 30 minutes, deploying 5 fire engines and 30 personnel. They were quick enough to deal with it that operations continued as usual at the site in the following morning.
What was the worst that could have happened during this incident? The worst case scenario would have been the death of the employees affected on site. They could have experienced many excessive injuries caused by the fires, and that may lead to death. The whole facility could have caught on fire, and the fire would have been more rigorous and be harder to put out. Affecting more areas of the district, this would lead to more houses being damaged, which increases the chances of accidents within homes caused by the fire. More employees could have experienced the incident during different working hours. What prevented the worst from happening? The incident occurred at 1:25 a.m. in the dead of night at the Pengerang Integrated Complex, and it said its emergency and fire response team was deployed and the fire was contained within 30 minutes. The fire was contained and less harm was done to the area. The Petronas emergency and response team received the report and deployed 5 fire engines with 30 firemen, and they were able to control and put out the fire at around 2:15 a.m. Staff are trained to handle these types of emergency situations on the ground, as Petronas are aware of the risks of keeping highly reactive assets. Routine emergency evacuation and fire drill exercises that have been embarked by the company guidelines have helped other staff refrain from any kind of harm. How often could such an event occur, which is summarized as the recurrence potential? This event could reoccur due to the lack of consistent maintenance. The recurrence potential is very high due to the high flammable items on site. With improper maintenance from the trend of accidents in refining complexes, recurrence may be inevitable. What was the worst injury or damage which could have resulted? The severity potential. Many regular injuries caused by fires, such as asphyxiation, which is the lack of oxygen, which may lead to suffocation, burns, disfigurement, lung damage, smoke inhalation, which all would lead to eventual death from the listed injuries and damages. However, other damages that have also occurred from these incidents are the homes outside of the perimeter of the complex, which have experienced damage such as broken glass doors, ceilings coming down, and cracking of the walls. All these damages were caused from the explosion and have woken up the citizens, and some have health problems that could also aggravate other issues. How many people could the event have affected? The population potential. Outside the plant, a number of houses in the Kampung Lepau near Pengerang were damaged. Comments on the social media suggested that blasts caused tremors that could be felt as far as 50 kilometers away. The incident could have caused a lot of more harm to the local citizens in the Kampung Lepau and lead to fatalities. The families of the 2 injured local workers that are aged 28 and 30 would have experienced grief, and many more would too if the situation was not resolved in time. The large number of Petronas stakeholders may also be affected from the incident.
For HIRARC and recommendation, this is the example of HIRARC form and the example of the situation for the form. There is hazard identification for the purpose is work activity, and we analyze the hazard and which can cause the effects. So the hazard is fire and explosion, and which can cause the ignition of flammable material. For the risk analysis, there is existing risk control that we should. For the example is safe work practice, and likelihood it may be 4. Severity is maybe we can put it 4, and each will make the risk is will be 16, and we put the risk of this hazard might be high risk. For the next is how to improve the risk management at work. The first one is we must identify the risks early on, and will be easier will it be to manage the risks. And next is must estimate and prioritize the risk by calculate the severity of risks by both probability, likelihood, and impact, the severity. And next is learn from past mistake by analyze it from historical data and anecdotes, and also make sure the employees and know it and never repeat it. Must keep monitoring and reviewing by being active, and always monitoring the exposure will help the employees to react on time, and requires risk management training for all employees so they can contribute toward the risk management. And the next one is how to improve workplace safety. For the first one is we need to train employees well. That is, we need to give the employees a comprehensive training to preventing the workplace injury. And next is partner with occupational clinics. That is can provide a valuable insight into workplace injury and prevention. And next is use the label and the signs as the cheap and effective way to quickly communicate with the employee for the important information. And next is have regular meeting on workplace safety to review safety rule and discuss prevention. Keep the workplace safety top of mind so that when something does happen, everyone know what to do right way. For the last one is we need to implement safety protocol from the start, from which means hiring qualified people who pay attention to the detail of the workplace. And the safe workplace start with employee who follow safety requirement and perform their job per established procedure.
Good evening, madam. My name is Shaffina Brigite, and I will be presenting the law, acts, and regulations of the incident. So, starting off with what are the obligations and responsibilities of employees and employers related to the accident or the incident. So here we have 3 points of it. The first one is wear personal protective equipment at all times. The second one is to regular inspect to be made to prevent structures, grounds, or excavations, tools, and all that things. And the third one is to make sure firefighting equipment is always provided and well maintained. Here we have 3 more points for the responsibilities of the employers or the employees. First is The fourth one, sorry, is to make sure that there are safe entrances and exits from the workplace. The fifth is to make sure that the work area is safe for the movement of workers and equipment and also materials that's there. And the final one is to must have had adequate instruction about a piece of machine or equipment before they actually start to use it. Moving on to the final question, which is what are the workplace acts and regulations that's related to this accident? So the first one that we have is OSHA 1994, which is Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and the second one is PERCASO, Employment Social Security Act 1969. That's all from me. Thank you very much.